Infertility is a journey no one expects to walk, and for this couple, what they thought would be a simple path to starting a family became a 6-year road marked by heartbreak. From navigating discouraging encounters with fertility specialists to enduring the emotional and physical toll of IVF, failed embryo transfers, a ruptured ovarian cyst, an ectopic pregnancy, and multiple miscarriages. Their story is one of profound loss but relentless hope. This deeply moving episode shares a raw and honest journey through infertility, grief, healing, and ultimately breakthrough, offering encouragement to every woman still waiting, and is a powerful reminder that even in the hardest seasons, God sees you, hears your prayers, and your story is still unfolding. Welcome to
Faith and Fertility Talks,
the podcast where faith grows, hope rises, and testimonies transform. Hi, ladies. I am your host, Gabby, and I am so elated to welcome you to the second episode of Faith and Fertility Talks. This is a space where women courageously share their personal fertility journeys, the highs, the heartbreaks, the waiting seasons, and the victories. Some episodes will feature women telling their stories, and other times I'll have the privilege of sharing their journeys on their behalf. My prayer is that every story encourages your heart, strengthens your faith, and reminds you that even in the uncertainty, you are deeply loved. Your prayers and your tears are seen by God, and most importantly, you are never alone. With that being said, let's dive into today's episode of Tanisha's story. Infertility is always such a hard conversation. No one ever thinks infertility will be their story. And my husband and I were no different. We never imagined the difficulties we would face trying to start a family after marriage. But infertility became our journey, and now it's our story. After we got married in 2017, we didn't immediately start trying for a family. We wanted to enjoy our first year together. But little did we know, it would be 6 years before that dream would begin to unfold. When I tell you it was a journey filled with trials and tribulations, whew, it was tough. But through it all, we kept the faith and kept pushing forward. Our fertility journey began in 2018. Being in the medical field, I felt like I had a solid understanding of the female body and the process of trying to have a family. After about 6 months of trying with no success, we decided to consult a fertility specialist. Like many couples, we had so many questions and faced so many unknowns. Our first specialist told us that everything checked out fine for both of us and that we just needed to be patient and keep trying. Easier said than done. I won't go into every detail, but some of the experiences we had with providers along the way were disappointing to say the least. One doctor said things that left me feeling completely uncomfortable and disrespected. So we moved on. Another walked into the room during our very first visit and said, IVF, and walked out. No explanation, no discussion, just confusion on our end. Then there was a provider who, without even reviewing our history or performing an exam, asked if we ever considered adoption. And while there is absolutely nothing wrong with adoption, it felt premature and dismissive, especially without taking the time to understand our situation. At that point, I remember thinking, where is the compassion? Where is the professionalism? We are people coming in vulnerable, searching for answers, hoping for guidance. Despite the setbacks, we leaned into our faith and decided to look beyond Orlando. One day, my husband suggested a fertility clinic in Viera, Florida. We scheduled a consultation, and from that moment in July 2019, everything began to shift. This clinic was different. The staff became like family. They listened, they cared. They answered every question without judgment. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. After a thorough and detailed workup, we started with less invasive approaches, hoping for a natural outcome, but those attempts were unsuccessful. Eventually, we moved forward with IVF. In November 2019, I underwent my first egg retrieval. And my, I had calendars of when and what time to take certain medications. This process is not for the weak. I would give myself injection after injection until I looked at myself in the mirror and start questioning God about my journey and saying how unfair it was and how some people have babies without a thought. And here I am injecting myself with hormones every single day at a certain time. I thought the retrieval was the toughest part of IVF, but no. Then comes the transfer of your embryos. Yes, that part is fairly easy, but it's the aftermath of waiting and having blood work to see if the procedure actually worked. Which leads to our first transfer, December 2019. Unsuccessful. The embryo didn't take. HCG levels never rise, so no pregnancy. Ugh, so what happens next? We wait to do another transfer, and I mean everything is on calendar time. The wait seems like eternity. January 2020, I woke up and couldn't get out of bed to walk to the bathroom. I was in the most excruciating pain. I've never felt pain like this before. I called out to my husband to help me get out of the bed and go to the bathroom, and I cried and cried because the pain was so bad. I told my husband, "You have to take me to the hospital because I don't know what is going on with my body." So after testing, they admitted me into the hospital for observation, and I found out I had an ovarian cyst that ruptured. Fast forward to April 2020. I was on a travel assignment in Jacksonville when COVID started. I was in my hotel room and went to the bathroom, and I noticed I had some brownish discharge. At that point, I was very confused because it wasn't time for my cycle to start. So I randomly went to the store to get a pregnancy test because now I'm curious as to why I am having discharge but no symptoms of anything. Usually, when my cycle starts, I would have so much cramping, but I had nothing, no pain, nothing. I took the pregnancy test and my heart was beating so fast. It's positive. I'm pacing back and forth in the hotel room, like, how can this be? I was in disbelief. So I did another test. Positive. I got pregnant naturally. Then my thoughts went back to the discharge I was having. Strange. So I called to make an OB appointment in Jacksonville and told them I've just taken a pregnancy test. It's positive, but I'm having discharge. So I had an appointment to come in the next day. Excited inside, I immediately called my husband to tell him. We were both in shock. I tell him I have an appointment for the next day to get checked. I go to the appointment and they do a urine test and say, "Oh, yeah, you are pregnant. But while you're here, we're going to do an ultrasound to see how far along you are." The technician is doing the ultrasound, but her face looks puzzled. I asked her, "Is everything okay?" She said, "One moment, let me get the doctor." They came back into the room and he said, "I need to do an emergency surgery on you now." I'm confused and I have no emotions because I'm like, what? He tells me your pregnancy is an ectopic pregnancy. That's where the discharge is coming from, and that I am 7 weeks with fetal cardiac activity. The doctor looked me straight in my eyes and said, "We have to remove your fallopian tubes where the baby is attached. If not, this can be detrimental for you." My tears flowed nonstop because I thought back on the exciting news of being pregnant, to then turn to the worst news. I'm away from home. I have no one with me. So I called my husband and parents to tell them the news. I called my manager over my assignment contract and told her the news. And she immediately came to my side because she knew I had no one who could be with me right away. As the staff prepped me for surgery, during that time, all I could do was pray because I've never had surgery and I had so many mixed emotions. Yes, I lost my very first baby, and also my tube was removed, and I was very hurt, disappointed, didn't know how to feel or express myself. But when I look back, I thank God for giving me the sign of discharge and me taking a pregnancy test and making an appointment versus ignoring it, because I wouldn't be here today if I ignored the discharge I was having. In 2021, I did 3 transfers of my embryos. I did get pregnant all 3 times, but I miscarried them all. January, May, and October. At this point, I'm heartbroken. What is wrong with me? Why can't I carry my babies? I honestly felt like I was in a roller coaster, up and down. Pregnant for a month or two, then I found out I miscarried. How discouraging. My husband and I had several conversations with our fertility doctor, and he told us something so raw and true. I am not God. You can keep trying, but it's up to you how far you want to go. But when I say I prayed and prayed throughout the days and nights, asking God to send me someone to help us with our situation, He answered. My doctor said, I have someone that's coming on board to take a look at your file and assist with your journey. Because, my goodness, this stuff isn't cheap. But thank God for giving me and us the strength to keep going and not giving up. I told my doctor before doing any more transfer of embryos, please take a look inside of my uterus because something is going on that keeps causing me to have miscarriage after miscarriage. I had a procedure to look into my uterus and left fallopian tube in March 2022. I had the surgery that resulted in removing my left tube, in addition to the doctor finding that I had a golf ball size unknown tissue attached to my uterus, which was removed and it was biopsied, resulting in being adenomyosis. Thankfully, he removed it all. So after healing for months, we decided to do another transfer in July 2022. All was great. My emotions were all over the place because finally we'll be having a baby. I was pregnant, and this time we made it to having an ultrasound. The doctor said I was measuring 1 week behind. So I'll have another ultrasound the following week to see if the baby develops a heartbeat. We went in the next week to be heartbroken all over again. No heartbeat, and the baby was breaking up into pieces. I miscarried the evening of my sister's graduation in New York. We've been through so much, 5 losses, and I'm not wanting to give up because I know what God did for the women in the Bible, and I'm waiting so patiently for God to do the same for me and bless my husband and I with a family. My husband was a little on the fence about going any further, but I told him we have to keep going. I have to be strong for the both of us. Well, all this going on, I not once told my parents what was going on. They had no idea about us doing IVF. I didn't want anyone to know because deep down, I felt ashamed of myself because I couldn't do the one thing God created women to do, and that was to have children. I'll admit it, I was embarrassed and didn't want anyone judging me, parents or not. I was ashamed. When my husband and I talked about other options, maybe finding a surrogate to carry our baby for us, that's when I started really questioning myself, knowing in my mind I don't want surrogacy to be an option for me. So I prayed to God and asked Him to let me carry my own babies and have them naturally. Then I began to think to myself, so you're really going to go on like this and not tell your parents what's going on? I waited a little longer before telling my parents or in laws what was going on because, as you know, the questions were coming. So, when are you all going to give us grandbabies? In December 2022, my doctor did a minor test in the office and discovered I now have polyps. So, a polypectomy was scheduled later in December 2022 to clear all the polyps. So, my uterus will be clean going into the next transfer. I had a discussion with my doctor and told him I am not doing any medications this time. I honestly think I was taking too many medications and it was throwing my hormones all over the place and having me go cuckoo, lol. So, no more medications for my next transfer. He asked me several times, are you sure? I was so confident that I needed no medications, seeing that I am able to get pregnant. No, I don't need them. So he and his staff made a special order for me for my next transfer. But in the last week of my transfer calendar, I did agree to give myself a progesterone injection every other day that it was needed, but nothing else. When I went to bed at night and prayed, this is when I knew it was time to tell my parents and in laws the truth of everything that was going on. From that point on, I felt like a burden was lifted off my shoulder. In addition, there were prayers being prayed throughout our families. With this next transfer, I did something different. I made sure to read scriptures every day and prayed on our situation for breakthrough. I was heavily in my Bible and removed all doubt from my mind and spoke positive about all things that came our way. We picked a date for our next transfer, February 17th, 2023. I had faith and believed in my heart that this transfer is and will be a success. And to God be the glory, it was. Every appointment was nerve wracking because we've made it so far along in pregnancy. Every milestone for us was a victory. We had our first baby girl on October 31st, 2023, the same birthday as her parental grandfathers, who passed away before she was born. We felt amazing and was so overjoyed of the blessing God had blessed us with. It was a feeling that's unreal. Through all the hardships, I will say it was worth it. I continue to thank and praise God for entrusting me and making us parents. What a miracle and a blessing. I will say the wait was so worth it. We decided to do another transfer on October 7th, 2024, a few weeks before our baby girl turned 1. And what a mighty God we serve. The transfer was a success. I was pregnant with my second baby while my firstborn turned 1. And oh, what a secret we kept until Christmas to announce that we were pregnant again. We had our second baby girl on June 21st, 2025. All I can say is that all the glory belongs to the Most High God. We couldn't have done it without Him. And many, many prayers on our behalf. To anyone going through this journey, please do not give up. Keep the faith and know that God never fails. I know this journey isn't easy. Your story still has purpose. Even in the waiting season, just know that God is still working behind the scenes. I am a firm believer in my heart. I know that in God's timing, it will happen for you as it did for me. God sees you, hears every prayer, and hasn't forgotten about you. Lean on your faith when your strength feels low. This is my journey of faith. Thank you for listening till the end. I truly hope this testimony blessed you, uplifted your spirit, and renewed your hope. If it did, I invite you to share it with a friend or family member who may need encouragement. Post it to your socials or leave a review. Your support helps these stories reach the hearts of those that need it as well. This is more than a podcast. It's a safe space to be seen, heard, and uplifted. Until next episode, keep holding on to hope. Thank you for tuning into
Faith and Fertility Talks.